Satan, sin, salvation. Those are big subjects, and they're all introduced in Genesis 3, which is the first of the 5 key Old Testament passages. The chapter begins with an introduction to Satan. Look at verse 1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Then his craftiness is immediately demonstrated right there in verse 1. Satan's first recorded words were a question to Eve designed to create doubt about God. Everything Satan said was fundamentally dishonest, yet he was trying to get Eve to believe that God had lied, that God was the dishonest one. His first question was a subtle shift of wording to reshape the context of God's command to not eat of the one tree. One version translates the statement in verse 1 this way: Did God really say you must not eat the fruit from any of the trees in the garden? Notice how he frames the question to include all the trees in the garden as forbidden. Well, Eve quickly corrected him with the truth. They were only forbidden to eat from the one tree in the middle of the garden, and she added previously undisclosed information that they weren't even to touch it. If they touched it or ate it in defiance of God, the result would be death. That's in verses 2 and 3. But Satan boldly pressed on and added to his deceit with a direct denial of what God had said. In verse 4, he bluntly told Eve, "You will not die." He followed that by challenging God's motive, implying that God was denying her something that would make her just like God. This has been man's pursuit ever since. All these years later, Satan's appeal hasn't changed. We still believe that lie. Almost all world religions, well, there are a couple of exceptions, but we don't have time to discuss them today, but almost all teach us that ultimately we can become God. Not like God, but actually be our own God. Fortunately for us, God knew what was going to happen. Since he knew what we were going to do, he wasn't caught off guard or by surprise. The plan had already been made to remedy sin through grace in the form of the crucified and resurrected Christ. And the first hint of that plan was given right here in Genesis 3. But that's all the time we have in today's Morning Minutes in the Bible. Come back tomorrow as we continue looking at Satan, sin, and salvation in Genesis 3. Until then, this is James McClenny hoping you have a great day.